Hello, everyone. My name is Tooways Asmal. Welcome to another episode of Tooways to Skin a Cat, a show where we talk career experiences, entrepreneurship, and investments. The main aim is to show that there's more than one way to be successful other than just climbing the corporate ladder. We are live on LinkedIn and YouTube, and the show will be on the podcast tomorrow morning. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on the notification bell to get automatically notified when the next episode comes out. If you're joining us live, please drop a one in the comments so that you know we're not talking to ourselves, and drop a two in the comments if you're watching the recording. My guest for this week is Dario Grassini, CPA, the co-CEO and founder of SAPRO Consulting. Dario, thanks so much for joining me today.
Anyways, thanks so much for having me. It's a privilege to be here. So really appreciate you reaching out, and really glad to have the opportunity to chat today and talk to you a little bit about things.
I'm sure there's lots for all of us to learn today. But let's jump into questions. Maybe tell us your story, where do you come from, and even outside of work, who is Dario Grassini?
Yeah, how much time do we have? Just checking. So I was born and raised in Pretoria in South Africa. I matriculated from Pretoria Boys High in '99, and then was fortunate enough to get a soccer scholarship through Ajax Cape Town before heading down to Cape Town to study accounting and finance at UCT. I was there for about a year and a half before I got recruited to come play for a university in the US down in South Carolina, a school called Coastal Carolina, where I continued my accounting and accounting studies, picked up finance, did a number of internships both locally, nationally, and internationally. Ultimately landed a job with Deloitte in New York City, where I focused on financial service and real estate clients. I was there for just over 3 years before I made a transition into corporate accounting and realized that that wasn't for me. It was a little bit too structured and repetitive and maybe mundane for my liking. And I always had an itch to kind of challenge myself on a global environment. So sorted all my affairs out in the US and then packed a small backpack. And next day I bought a plane ticket and flew to Europe and was going to work my way around the world. Ended up as far as countries like, I was in Prague, Paris, the Netherlands, Amsterdam, and then that was in 2010. So because of the soccer background and obviously being South African, I wanted to go back home and enjoy the World Cup. And while in South Africa, luckily I got a job working for FIFA's operating committee.
Wow.
So got some hands-on experience behind the scenes there before moving down to Cape Town and helping out a little startup. And then in 2011, started doing some international secondments to kind of help afford working around the world. And then from there, I ended up in the Netherlands for close to 5 years. And while in the Netherlands, I was running international secondment programs, doing some corporate accounting again, but also joined a non-profit called the Ocean Cleanup. I started off as a bookkeeper and then ended up helping them with various offshore expeditions, including one called the Mega Expedition, where we had a fleet of about 40 vessels traveling from Hawaii to California, skimming the surface of the Pacific Ocean to collect plastic samples to extrapolate how big the problem was, and from there design methods in order to clean it up. That's their mission. So that was very adventurous. I was on a sailing boat for almost like a month, where I had never had sailing experience before, but was working towards something positive. And then came back to the US in 2016. And about a year after that, met up with Craig in Central Park, where we had some coffee, and we decided to get together and start SAPRO, because we realized there was an opportunity in the market to provide even more value to people looking to get international experience. And that was kind of the beginning of SAPRO here.
So I mean, soccer crazy, and otherwise, outside of work, anything else?
Yeah, I think for me, I live here in Austin, Texas. Moved down from New York City about just over a year ago. Love the outdoors, going on adventures, hiking, traveling. my wife and I went over to Croatia in June. So yeah, traveling and hiking and going on new adventures there.
Let's talk SAPRO specifically. So I read a LinkedIn post from someone that said SAPRO and your competitor are like the Airbnb and Uber of the audit industry, which I thought was brilliant. But see, for the young professionals out there who haven't heard much about you, who is your ideal person that you're looking for, and what are the different opportunities available to them?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty interesting statement, the whole Uber and Airbnb thing. I think what we're trying to do is revolutionize the public accounting world. I think for the ideal people we're looking for is people that are motivated to challenge themselves out of their comfort zones, try to get international experience and test themselves in different waters to help improve the opportunities for growth, etc. And like what we're trying to do is provide compelling alternatives so that we can open up new opportunities for people, both short and long term, and yeah, help them broaden their horizons, like expand their global networks, and yeah, people that are just trying to test the waters in different locations as well. So anybody that's finishing their article clerks to people that have post-article experience as well.
And so do they get the opportunity to say, I know you short term, so is there long-term opportunities to work overseas or the US or Europe, immigration opportunities, or is it purely you go, you come back?
Sure. So when we started SAPRO 5 years ago, we started with 3 people and they had a short-term opportunity of 3 months. That was during the busy season in the US in 2018. Subsequently, we grew to 23 people the following year, 70 people the year after that in 2020, across 17 different locations within the US and then also Australia. And then this past busy season, we've had over 300 people, and this coming busy season, we're looking at over 1,000 people.
Wow.
And what we're trying to do is provide the option of both short-term and long-term. So we want to ultimately be able to provide people with a long-term career with SAPRO, depending on what it is that they're looking for. So if you look at our mission, it's really to positively impact the lives of as many people, like build better futures for our people, our clients, and our global communities. And if it's short-term or long-term, we're flexible in helping them along those ways. And if they, like, the whole immigration question is something that comes up a lot, and it's always an option. I just want to manage people's expectations. It's extremely challenging and also can be a very long and daunting path. So yeah, we don't not pursue it, but at the same time, we want to provide people with options that they don't need to necessarily immigrate, that they can get the international experience from working at home. They can get competitive salaries, so they don't have to move abroad in order to be able to support their families in a better way. So yeah, we really are trying to help with nation building and uplifting communities in South Africa and Southern Africa. And yeah, I think most importantly is giving people the taste for that international environment so that they can see if it's the right fit for them. And before they make a long-term commitment, like be able to properly assess with their family and their support group whether it's the right thing for them.
I hate asking that question because my aim is to get people to, I mean, like you say, nation build and stay in South Africa and help build the country. But I would be remiss. That's why I needed to ask the question.
No, it's a great question, and we get asked it a lot, and it's important for people. And I think it comes back to the number one driving principle for us. It's what is best for our people, and that's what we're going to try to do every time, is try to take care of them as best as we can, regardless of what it is.
For the audience, if anybody's got any questions for Dario, please add your questions to the comment section. We'll answer all the questions towards the end, but please get them in now so that we don't miss them. Are there any training contract opportunities at SAPRO?
That's a great question. So we've been chatting to SAICA. We're trying to get as much material from them to understand what are the requirements. in order to become a training institute. I think what we're looking to do from that perspective is see how do we potentially come up with a blended approach where we can provide both local and international training from the beginning, and not just do it alone, but potentially partner with other South African firms in order to be able to get that experience from South Africa and internationally from the ground up. So yeah, we're exploring that. We're doing our business analysis and how that would affect the company. But I think what it comes down to is public accounting world is short of quality, talented labor. I think a lot of people are, especially internationally, I think South Africa is a little bit different in that accounting, becoming a CA or getting an accounting degree is still revered. In many parts of the world, it's not necessarily the case because people are afraid of technology. So what we want to do is help public accounting become exciting again, help it be compelling so that we can attract more and more people into the profession, because the ideal that we're working towards is how do we help transparency and accountability in the global financial markets so that we can have that trust and faith in the capital markets so that people can deploy their capital in the best way possible, and in doing so uplifting the communities, etc. And creating a training program is really there to bring more people into the profession to help towards that mission, and show people how exciting and how many skills one can learn in this profession. And you can take this and do anything from it. And that's what Greg and I have been trying to do, is like open people's eyes to all the opportunities out there, and show how exciting it can be, what kind of adventure it can be, and how flexible it can be. Like you can work from home or you can work internationally. So building the training program is definitely on the cards for us. Yeah.
That's great. So you've heard it here. You deal with a lot of with more international clients and US clients in particular. What are the differences in servicing, say, an SA-based client versus a US one? Are there different expectations in terms of ability? Talk us through that.
Sure. So just one slight correction. So we don't service SA-based clients yet. So we service clients in the US, Canada, UK, soon Europe and Australia and New Zealand. So I think the difference comes in where how people can get exposure to clients around the world without leaving their homes, or they can get onshore experience as well. So if you look at our business, there's really two sides to the coin. There's our global rotational development program, where people can, obviously when travel's available and there's no more restrictions and we can safely manage COVID and our clients want people on site, we want to be able to help people have opportunities where, for example, they leave their articles, they join us for 3 to 6 months, and we send them to the US and down to Australia for 3 to 6 months, and then to the US and then somewhere else. So during that time, they get exposure to different international markets, different like standards, like general accounting principles or international financial statements, different industries, different people, different cultures. And they really broaden their horizons and open their mind to what's out there and learn as much as possible, and go through our SAPRO Academy so that we're continuously building on their technical skills as well as their soft skills to help them become the best versions of themselves. So that global rotational or international development program is one side of the coin. The other side of the coin in dealing with all these countries around the world is seeing how we can bring as much work back to South Africa or Southern Africa as possible to really provide those home-based opportunities so that people don't have to leave their families, etc., and they can earn good compensation so that they can support their families and all that.
Getting exposure. I mean, nobody's going to say no to getting exposure all over the world. I mean, that sounds amazing. You have an American certified public accountant, or a CPA designation. How does it compare to the CASA? And for those South African chartered accountants who are starting to serve global clients, would you recommend that they also obtain a CPA designation? Because it seems expensive, unless on a little bit of research that I've done, or is it sufficient to go with your CASA designation?
Look, I think Greg and I both think that South Africa is like I'm a little bit biased here, but we think South Africa or Southern Africa has some of the best accounting talents in the world. And SAPRO and ICAS have done an amazing job with the education and the credentials necessary in order to become a CA. And like really, what we're trying to do is showcase the talent to the rest of the world, and just like CAs and accountants are really opening the doors for helping us provide more and more opportunities. So just want to like make that statement, because really the talent from South Africa is amazing. And for me, I'm a CPA. I'll give you an example. My twin brother is a CA. Greg's a CA. I think there's different routes, obviously, and I want to appreciate both designations because it's not easy to get either of them. But the CA does really help position you to be able to work internationally. And at SAPRO, we do have courses to help provide that bridge between international financial standards as well as generally accepted principles. And last year, Psycho did an amazing job with the AICPA, where we were able to obtain reciprocity after being able to get a CPA designation after completing one course. And in doing so, I think the cost comes down quite dramatically in doing that. And the conversion time period that it takes is a lot more quicker, where it would have taken 18 months to sit for all CPA exams, or 4 of them. Now it's just one exam, and I think the process is getting streamlined and can take up to 6 months to do that, but it's a lot more feasible, a lot better, and a lot easier to do. And part of what we're trying to do is for anybody that we bring to the States long term, see if they want to become CPAs as well, and help support them with that.
So it sounds like if you are going long term, it's a good idea to do it. But if you're still testing the waters, wait until you figure out what you want.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
People generally don't like change, but you are doing something different. Where do you see SAPRO going? Talk to us about your vision for the future.
Yeah, I think it comes down to our mission is building better futures for our people, our clients, and our global communities. And I think what we're trying to do is deliver on that promise. And that's really what wakes us up in the morning, gets us out of bed in order to ensure we can do that. And from a vision perspective, I think like we are a for-profit, obviously, but we consider ourselves really a not-for-profit. And what we're trying to do is change the lives of 5,000 people by 2025. And for us, that means providing meaningful, worthwhile, and challenging opportunities, and giving people an employee value proposition that deals with radical flexibility, where they can work from wherever, doing whatever, obviously where it makes business sense. Also, providing people with a holistic well-being approach where they feel taken care of and they don't get burnt out and they're supported. And we work with them in regards to not just creating that linear career that you mentioned earlier, but a lattice in a way where we can support their transition into different environments. Like you see SAPRO as an incubator where you can test different countries, test different service lines like audit, transaction advisory, or tax. And we provide you with the tools and the structure and the foundation and facilitate all of this in order so that you aren't exploring it by yourself like I was when I was trying to work my way around the world with no support and no real clear direction or mentorship and coaching as I was figuring that out. So yeah, I think all of that together with our shared purpose and really deeper connections with our people, where it's almost like a mass customization of like figuring out what they want and working towards that with each one of them. And then looking at public accounting, not from a transactional perspective, but from a transformational perspective, and seeing which kind of organizations and which kind of companies and people we can partner with in regards to having similar initiatives like nation building or coaching or training. And yeah, I guess if you look at our vision, it's that target of employing 5,000 people by 2025 and helping to change those lives. And it's not all going to be in South Africa. It's going to be throughout Africa or throughout the world. And yeah, that's what really drives us in.
for somebody who didn't have a mentor in where you managed to touch almost every continent, so with the structure, I'm sure you can get even further.
Yeah, it's been an adventure, and I think for me, one of my guiding principles is freedom, and working so hard towards obtaining that freedom. We want to help people have that sense of freedom, that they live in their best lives, they live in their own lives, and they've got someone that's got their back and supporting them throughout that.
Oh, that summarizes it well. This is my question that I like to ask all my guests: is what's one piece of advice you would give your younger self?
Sure. Good question. I think there's a lot of things. I think it comes back to trying to get an understanding of the full environment that you're in, how all the pieces fit together. A lot of the time we're in our own minds and worrying about ourselves, but instead of looking outside and seeing, like, for example, I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So in order to become an entrepreneur, what does that mean? Like putting yourself through an environment where you can get exposure to many different things. Like you don't have to just do one thing and learn from that, but see all the different aspects of the business in order to see how the company adds value and how you can improve the value for your clients and the communities that they support. So I think like have a broader perspective, like try as many different things as you possibly can, and don't be afraid to get out there. Like I think everybody has their own situation, so it's hard to kind of give advice to one person without understanding their situation, like whether it's their financial backing, their family history, etc. So taking all of that into consideration, I think it comes down to get as much exposure to as many different things as you possibly can, so that you can understand what gels well with you and see where you can best add value based on what you want to do.
That's great advice. We're going to move over to some questions from the audience. We've got a question from Sisonke. How was your experience in New York?
Yeah, it was great. When I first got there, it's crazy. It's like you're in a city with over 8 million people, but sometimes you can feel so alone until you like start getting around and making friends, and you start seeing exactly what the city has to offer. And it's got so much to offer. It's almost mesmerizing, and you can get quite overwhelmed by living there. But it's got beautiful, peaceful spaces as well, like Central Park or the River Walk along the West Side Highway, which helps you feel relaxed in this concrete jungle. And it's incredible, and it's got so many people from different walks of lives that you can have interesting conversations with and engage with. And yeah, I really loved my time there. My wife and I had an amazing time. That's why I met my wife, and that's why I met Greg. But yeah, during COVID, realized that there were other places to explore, and we moved down to Texas, and now having adventures down here. Yeah.
We've got a question from, I think it's Sean. Knowing your love for football, are you negotiating with any football clubs or SAPRO to support the accounting or financial reporting functions? I actually know one of the accountants at Kaizer Chiefs, but I don't know many of them. So it's
really?
quite interesting to know.
Are we talking like Barcelona? Are we talking Kaizer Chiefs or
whoever?
Yeah. So I think right now we support public accounting firms, and we haven't necessarily gone into industry, but if we do go into industry, we'd love to chat to any soccer firms. Obviously, it's passion, and yeah. Thanks for bringing that question up. I guess my question back to him is, what's the team he supports, and can hook us up.
Oh, that's a question going back to you. We've got a quick question from Shamiso, who says, how many auditors are employed at SAPRO now, both permanent and temporary?
Yeah, so we've got a mix of both permanent and temporary. I think in the beginning of the year, we had over 350. And we extended permanent offers to a number of those people. currently, I believe we've got 950 people that's on the SAPRO consulting team. We call our consultants in the field our pros. And internally, we've got close to 100 people working on that. And yeah, I think if you had to ask me what I'm most proud of is just all the internal team members and all our pros in the fields that are doing such amazing hard work for us, and just the dedication and motivation and willingness to also commit to this mission of building better futures. I think we've been extremely blessed and we humbled and really honored to be able to work with so many amazing people and great talents. So yeah, we're really excited for the family to keep growing. We want to take care of as many people as possible. And yeah, we've got a ton of opportunities. So if you know of anybody else that's still looking for opportunities, by all means, introduce them to us. We'd love to help them out as well.
Seems like you're going to get to that 5,000 target sooner than you think.
Yeah, hopefully. Hey?
I don't want to take up too much more of your time, so let's just move over to any last few words from your side, or anything that we didn't discuss that you'd like the audience to know.
Like I said, we've got a lot of opportunities still available, so feel free to reach out to us, SAPRO Careers. I think we want people to realize that even though we've got a lot of opportunities, our people are more than just numbers. So we're going to really work really hard and co-invest with you to co-create your careers with you. So really want to walk this journey with you and help you along your career. So our promise and really what keeps me up at night is making sure that we deliver on our promise to ensure that we give people the best opportunities possible. And yeah, like we're always willing to sit at the table and chat to people or other partners to understand where we can add more value to people's lives and what initiatives they've got going on there. And yeah, I guess I want to call out just to create a little bit of awareness of the two charities that we support. There's one in South Africa called Ubuntu Pathways that's based out of Port Elizabeth. They're all about helping people from cradle to career, and they've done amazing things and got amazing supports and skills. And I think during COVID, they've helped over 30,000 people get through it with basics like food, but also creating schools for education and all of that. And the other charity that we support is here in the US called Safe at Home. So I want to bring awareness to them as well. And they do amazing things for people that are in a tough living environment at home, and also just providing them with the support and safe places so that they can get the basic opportunities. So two very great organizations.
Correct. And I think from your my main takeaway from the initial part is to the people out there, the opportunity is there. It's just a matter of, are you reaching out for it or not? Don't say the opportunity is not there.
Yeah. So yeah, happy to chat to anybody. Just reach out to us and see how we can help you out as well.
The show has been live on YouTube and should be available on the podcast by tomorrow. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast and you feel that it's added value, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on that notification bell so that you get automatically notified when the next episode comes out. Dario, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Wes. And yeah, have a wonderful day.
Thanks everyone for joining us for another episode of Tooways to Skin a Cat. Goodbye.